All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for clicking on the video. Today, Super Nintendo Mortal Kombat 2 versus the Sega 32X version of Mortal Kombat 2. I ran a poll in my community post a couple weeks ago. About 820 people voted on which version they wanted me to put up against the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat 2. It was either the PlayStation version or the 32X version. Ultimately, 32X version won, so here we are about to look at both versions. Now, when I do my reviews or whatever, I don't get into the technical specs of each game. As an average casual retro gamer, I basically just kind of look at which one. Now, this is all my opinion. I'll look at each one, and I don't know that, this system has so many colors and this one has so many colors and such, and what kind of, what kind of tech they use for the audio and such. I basically go by what I see, by what I hear, how it plays, how fun it is, and that's what I basically base my review on. Which one would I rather play at the end of the day kind of thing. So we're going to stick with that for this one. I find the Super Nintendo version is an awesome version of Mortal Kombat 2. But the 32X version is another awesome version of Mortal Kombat 2 also. There's pros and cons for each, and today I think it's going to be a fun little playthrough of both of these games again, and a fun review, and I'm actually looking forward to doing this. So once again, we're going to look at graphics, we're going to look at sound, we're going to look at the controls for each, and we're going to look at fun factor. Now, when I take a look at fun factor this time around, we're going to go through some of the cheats and the hidden codes that were included in these versions, because at the end of the day, when you get the cart, and there's so much extra and so many bonus features in these games themselves, that contributes to the fun factor, right? Figuring out the blood code for the original Mortal Kombat on Genesis, that made the game more fun. So I think it's only fair this time around, because there's a lot of codes for the Super Nintendo as well as for the 32X version of Mortal Kombat 2. So we're going to look into a bit of that as well when we determine the final fun factor. So anyways, that being said, let's look at the graphics for both of these games and both of these platforms. And we're going to rate it out of 5. Once again, every category is out of 5, and then it's going to be a complete total out of 20 at the end. And we will determine which version of Mortal Kombat 2 is better to me, which one I prefer and which one I think is better. So that being said, thank you again for clicking on the video. Let's get right into some gameplay, and then we will talk about the graphics briefly, and then talk about the sound, etc., etc. Let's get into some gameplay. Alright, Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat 2. Let's take a look at the graphics. Now, I absolutely love this version. It's fantastic. When we look at the graphics though, we're just going to get into straight gameplay. Now, character select screen here looks great. The colors are beautiful. It's a little bit pixelated. Yes, it is blown up on a bigger TV. But regardless, you can still see lots of colors. Characters look good. The animation is good. We'll use Sub-Zero for a bit of this, I guess. Cool thing, you could pause the game. that was always great. But graphically, you can already tell the backgrounds look good. The foreground looks good. And there are the graphics. Now, I will point out something that a lot of people complain about is the name being outside of the health bar. Does that affect the gameplay? Does that affect the graphics quality? It personally doesn't bother me very much, but it seems to bug a lot of people. But anyways, the stage, Acid Pit. So all the stages are in this version. All the stages from the arcade. Graphically, the characters look great. They're a little smaller than the arcade, obviously, but they do look good. There's a lot of color, there's a lot of blood. Special moves look good. Like I said, the foreground, look at the chains in the foreground here. In the background, I'm just kind of playing around with them a bit while I talk about the graphics. Let's get them in the Acid Pit. There you go. Arcade The tricks work.
Sub-Zero wins.
Graphically, the Super Nintendo looks awesome. Considering, you know, 16-bit system. This version of Mortal Kombat 2 looks beautiful. Has the inclusion of all the stages. Now remember, like when this was played on the CRT TVs, everything was kind of shrunk down from, obviously, from a screen this size, and it looked better. It looked even better than this. Now this being said though, this still looks incredible. Tons of detail. The backgrounds look the way they should. Lots of color. Raiden's spelt differently. No big deal. Honey marmalade! Ooh. Alright. Let's take out Raiden for the rest of this clip. Oh, here we go. Down forward block. Looks good. Let's take a look at the 32X version now for graphics.
Fatality.
Pause. All right. The Sega 32X version of Mortal Kombat 2. Now, unlike the Super Nintendo, this version has the arcade intro. That's cool, and graphically you can already see it looks better than the Genesis. So let's get into some of the gameplay for this version. We'll just start it up, as when we get to the fun factor aspect we will put in some codes and such. So this isn't an actual playthrough, we're just going to play around. We will, however, yeah, we already got it to the 6 button. All right. So let's take a look at the graphics of the 32X version. Now this right here looks very good. It looks way better than the Sega Genesis version. So I will say this looks very good. Let's get into some of the gameplay. You can see the colors in the background look great. The character animations, well, we haven't seen the animation of the characters yet, but the still shots of their portrait there looks good.
Round 1.
Here we go. What? What? So it looks a little grainy, but that's not a big deal. This is a dark game, and that being said, the graininess actually looks very good, to be honest. You'll notice in the Super Nintendo there in the background, you'll notice the sky, I guess, is red. Whereas here it's just dark, it's just black. And when I say sky, I mean the grating in the back there. But, you know, that's not a big deal. Graphically, this looks really good. The character names are inside the life bar. That's a big deal. That is a big deal. Oops. There we go.
Sub-Zero.
Ooh, they don't reset the timer with that. That's interesting. Anyways, so far so good. Graphically, it looks good. The acid pit looked good. The stage looks good. Now, I don't see any of the pterodactyls flying in the background. And now I do. So I spoke too soon. So the graphics in this are very well done. There's more color. You can already see that there's more color than the Sega Genesis version. You see the spikes at the top there. Big yin-yang symbol in the middle.
Round 2.
Good detail in this version, I'll tell you. What?
Finisher.
Alright. There we go. Fatality in effect. I actually like how the body kind of disappears in this one. That's not a big deal to me. Graphically, game looks good. Let's talk about it. All right, that was a fun bit of gameplay from both versions. Let's take a look at the graphics. Let's talk about the graphics first. So the Super Nintendo version, I think they did a fantastic job with it graphically, considering this was a 16-bit system. The capabilities, I know it had to have been hard to shrink everything down to that format, and I think that Sculptured Software did a fantastic job on and Acclaim did a fantastic job on this version of Mortal Kombat 2. I've said that for years and years and years. I think the animation of the characters is fantastic. The blood is nice and red. Every stage is included in this version. Little things were off, like the Shadow Priests didn't bob up and down when they were floating, but those aside, it's not a big deal. I think graphically the Super Nintendo really did a fantastic job with the graphics on this version, and that being said, we're going to give it a 5 out of 5 for graphics on the Super Nintendo. The 32X version, still in my opinion, kind of looks like the Genesis, but you can definitely see more colors, more details to the stages, more details to the backgrounds. I think the characters do have a little more animation, like in their winning poses and such. I know Baraka does his full, spikes to the sky animation when he wins, whereas on the Genesis it just kind of sits down with his forks pointed towards the ground, kind of thing. So they did add more animation in this version. The colors on the character select screen, I think the character select screen looks way better than the Genesis. The 32X looks fantastic. Still a little bit grainy and dark, but you know what? I think that's a good thing for this game, to be honest. And the more I play the 32X version, the more I'm liking it. On the acid pool, for instance, too, in the windows, you got the red sky in the back instead of just black like the Super Nintendo. I think the 32X did a fantastic job graphically. There is still a few bits of animation missing on the characters and their moves and such, but overall, I think the 32X version looks fantastic. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 because of the missing animation on the characters when they're doing certain moves and such. But I mean, overall, graphically, it looks fantastic. We're still going to give the edge to the Super Nintendo graphically, but there's 3 more categories to look at. So far it's 5 to 4.5 for the Super Nintendo. Now let's listen to the next bit of gameplay, and let's hear what these 2 versions of Mortal Kombat sound like, and let's compare that, and then we'll talk a bit about it. All right, let's take a look at the sound for the Super Nintendo version.
Round 1, fight.
Let's play a whole match here without talking. Just give it a listen.
Kitana wins.
She didn't only win, she kicked my ass.
Round 2, fight. Excellent. Superb. Superb. Sub-Zero wins. Round 3, fight. Punisher. Sub-Zero wins. Friendship, friendship.
All right, let's talk about the sound first for the Super Nintendo version. So, what do you think? The sound on the Super Nintendo version, it's the Super Nintendo in general. The hardware in general always makes it seem like the speakers are coming from another room, or you got a pillow over your head. But that being said, regardless, Mortal Kombat 2 sounds fantastic on the Super Nintendo. The music sounds great. There's a lot of bass in the music. The character voices all sound fantastic. Shao Kahn sounds amazing. Overall, the sound quality of the Super Nintendo version, I think, is fantastic. The only thing that kills it is the fact that it does sound a little distant. Even the voices kind of sound distant, but they're all there, which is great. And so that being said, the Super Nintendo for sound is going to get a 4.5 out of 5, in my opinion. And that being said, let's listen to the 32X version now. All right, let's play a match, and let's just focus on the sound. I'm going to keep quiet for this, and then we will talk about it after.
Round 1, fight.
Oh! Oh!
Huh?
Oh!
Sub-Zero wins. Round 2, fight.
Huh?
Oh!
Huh? Huh?
Kung Lao wins. Round 3, fight.
Oh! Oh!
Huh?
Finish him. Sub-Zero wins. Friendship, friendship.
Friendship, friendship. All right, let's talk about it. All right, the 32X version. Now, this time around, how does this sound in comparison to the Sega Genesis version? Well, in my opinion, it sounds much better. I think the inclusion of all the voice acting, a little bit taken out for Shao Kahn when you fight him, but it's not a big deal. The voice is all in there this time around, which is fantastic. And you know, as grainy as it sounds, it's not terrible. And the music, while it's not arcade original, the Super Nintendo sounds more arcade original. The 32X version music, though, is still darn catchy in its own right. Like I've said earlier in this video, the sound, the 32X version is actually really growing on me, and I'm enjoying playing it quite a bit. And you know what? The sound and the music, I'm actually growing to love. And that being said, you know, even though it's a little bit grainy, the Genesis, the Sega Genesis, just had this this metallic. What is the word I used to describe it? It was just like a metallic kind of twangy sound to it, and the 32X, I think, keeps that in Mortal Kombat 2, and I think the sound in Mortal Kombat 2 for the 32X is actually extremely catchy. And again, with the inclusion of the voice, I mean, that makes all the difference in the world. The you know, the sound effects for like the ice puddle and stuff are still, you know, a little different, but it's not to say they're bad. It doesn't sound like the arcade, no, but it sounds cool and original and fresh. And you know what? I gotta be honest, because of that, I'm gonna say the sound on this one is a 4.5 out of 5. It's very, very catchy in its own right, and I gotta be honest, I love the 32X sound now. It's really grown on me. So Super Nintendo 4.5, 32X 4.5. Let's take a look at the controls for these two versions of this amazing game. Let's take a look at the controls.
Round 1. Fight.
All right, the controls for the Super Nintendo version. I think this game controls fantastic. I like the Super Nintendo controller. I like the layout of the buttons. This game controls way better than Mortal Kombat 1 did on the Super Nintendo. To me, this one controls fantastic. There's not really much else to say. If you know the inputs for the special moves and the fatalities and such, then it will do exactly what you want it to do. The controls are responsive. I don't find any latency, any lag. I find overall this game controls just how you would want it to control for Mortal Kombat 2. Controls are responsive, the fatalities are responsive. It blocks when you want it to, that's a big deal. Yeah, everything in this version, control-wise, is great. So, let's finish Kung Lao and then take a look at the 32X version and the controls on that one. What should we do to Kung Lao? Let's throw the ice grenade. And I say that like I'm gonna win because I'm gonna win. You gotta love that Shao Kahn laugh. Why I even tried that, I don't know. Falls for the tricks. Toasty! Alright, ice grenade, boom. Forward, down, high kick. Hold low punch, back, down, forward.
Fatality.
Release low punch. Works just like it should. Alright, let's fight Baraka 2. Why not?
Round 1. Fight.
Feed the tree demons before we advance on to the 32X version. And look at the overall fun factor.
Excellent. Sub-Zero wins.
Ooh, you got the growling of the trees there. Always good. This version, of course, includes all the fatalities, babalities, and friendships. Down, back, high kick for Sub-Zero's babality.
Finish him.
There you go, trees. Tasty snacks.
Sub-Zero wins. Babality.
Alright, let's take a look at the 32X. Pause it there. Alright, how does the 32X version control? First things first, gotta be using a 6-button controller for this. That's the only way to do this topic justice for this one. So 6-button controller is a must. Now the buttons, the layout is great. It's very responsive. It does what you want it to do. There's pretty much zero latency in your button presses.
Round 2.
So overall, as long as you know how the controls work in this game, you are not going to have any problem getting this game to do what you want it to do. Everything is very responsive. Fatalities work well.
Sub-Zero wins.
I actually like how the blood and guts kind of disappear in this version.
Fatality.
like we did for the Super Nintendo there, let's play another round and feed the tree demons. How about it? Liu Kang can be a bit of a pain on the 32X version. Hopefully we can beat him. He does play like the arcade in the sense that he will, in fact, throw a fireball at you if you try to jump kick him. Very fast. Liu Kang wins that one. Are we going to be able to feed him? Feed the tree demons? Let's try it.
Round 2.
Nope, not starting with the bicycle kick. Alright, he is actually giving me a tough time. Not close enough. Oh. There we go.
Sub-Zero wins.
Can we feed him? Feed them tree demons. The one's got its mouth open already, ready.
Round 3.
Go. It's always nice when they just walk into that. Whoa!
Finish him.
There you go.
Sub-Zero wins. Fatality.
All right, let's talk about the controls. Alright, so as you can see, the controls for both of these versions are fantastic. Now, there is a big problem this time around while I was playing. I did notice that the Super Nintendo does have some slowdown. And with the slowdown, that actually affects the controls and what you're doing. 99% of the game, when you're pulling off special moves and such, the controls all work. They all do exactly what you want them to do. There's no latency in the button pushing. There's nothing like that. But the fact that there is slight slowdown actually does affect the controls, like especially in those tight moments and such. You'll notice some slowdown when Baraka does his chopping motion kind of thing. And I know you can't do moves while the person's chopping away anyways, but I did find that the slowdown kind of affects the controls just slightly. And so while the Super Nintendo's fantastic, fatalities and such are still easy to pull off. I mean, if you know how to play the game, you know the moves. You'll slip up on moves very, very rarely in that version. But because of that, it's not. I gave it perfect in my last review, but I'm actually taking off a half a point this time around because I don't find the controls to be 100%, and because this is such a close matchup, we gotta get technical a little more so. So that being said, 4.5 for controls on the Super Nintendo. Now the 32X version, however, there is zero slowdown. Whatever you want to do, as long as you know how to do it, you're gonna do it. And you know, there's no slowdown when the character jumps towards you. You got to be quick on this one, but if you if you push the button, it responds right away. If you know how to do the moves, they're very, very responsive. So that being said, I think the 32X version is actually perfect for controls. And you know, playing a game, you want, like, especially a fighting game like this, you want it to be instant. You want the controls to be like dead on. And I think the 32X actually pulls that off perfectly. So we're going to give the controls on the 32X a 5 out of 5. Flawless victory on controls for that system. And yeah, that's my scoring for controls. Now let's take a look at fun factor. Let's do a little bit more gameplay, and let's also look at some of the cheats that are in these versions too, because on a home system, you know, to get your money's worth, they had to add more than just the base game to really give you value for your dollar back in the day. And both games delivered. There are quite a few secrets. Let's take a look at some more gameplay. Let's take a look at some of the secrets and cheats in both versions, and then we will talk about fun factor and give our final verdict for this amazing game. All right, the Super Nintendo. Let's take a look at the fun factor now. How fun is this version of Mortal Kombat 2? So let's play a bit here, and then we'll back out of this and we'll take a look at some of the cheats too, and some of the things that are included in the options. Now, because this version plays so closely to the arcade, in my opinion, I love it. I like the arcade exploits, how they were included in this version. So basically, with the majority of characters, you can just kind of duck, jump back, do that little bait trick. Against a human opponent, you know, it plays how you would expect it to play when you're playing this against your friends, kind of thing. I find this version moves a little faster than the arcade. And actually, a while back, I didn't even think so. I thought it was the other way around, but you know, playing it recently, I realized, no, this one does move faster than the arcade.
Round 3.
But yeah, overall, the single-player experience in this is just like the arcade. So because of that, either you love it or you hate it.
Superb.
And I don't mind the exploits. I've learned how to play this game.
Finish him.
And because of that, I find this version extremely fun. I do like it a lot.
Fatality.
I find the strategy on Kentaro is a little different in this one, but overall, it's a very, very fun game. Let's take a look at some of the codes and secrets in this game. All right, so we're back at the main menu here. If you go into the options, you do have the option to make it very easy or very hard. The truth is, there's no difference. I do not find any difference whatsoever. So while that's an option, it makes no difference in my opinion. I actually find the exploits work better on very hard, so if you know them, it's almost better to choose the very hard setting. Fighters, so the handicap here, you got, you know, you can be less powerful or more powerful than player 2. Again, that's more for if you're playing against another human opponent. No big deal on that one. Button configuration, you know, however you want your buttons, it's not a big deal. But some of the fun things that are in this game. So for instance, there's 30 credits. And in order to get 30 credits, you start the game, you push left, up, right, down, left, select. And there you go, you hear the swoosh, and that gives you 30 credits. So that's cool. If you push up, down, down, left, right, and then select, you will automatically fight against Jade.
Round
So there's one of the secrets. Jade is fast as hell in this one, but you can usually beat her with the cheap exploit, the cheese exploit, if you want to call it that. But this right here, just being able to use these codes and play against like Jade or Smoke or Noob, that contributes to the fun. So it's very cool that they included this code. And this code was actually something that I just found out earlier this year.
Baraka wins.
So there's that one. All right, the Noob Saibot code, left, up, down, down, right, select. Lets you play against Noob. Now there's also a code for Kentaro. There's a code for Shao Kahn as well. Smoke, I'm not sure if there's a code for Smoke, but if you lose, so if I lose to Noob Saibot, which I more than likely will, Although the exploits do work on him, if you beat him, I believe you just keep playing against them.
You will die, mortal.
Pussy! So it doesn't even say noob Cybot.
Two, fight.
But if you lose against noob and then you continue, it'll actually make you play against smoke. So the odds are we'll lose. I mean, the exploits do work, but he moves fast. I might just lose on purpose, to be honest. Oh, not on purpose, but this is what happens.
You will die, mortal.
So you choose your character, and see it says 4 credits, but I mean, if you put in the 30 credit code, you have unlimited credits, because every time you die, you can put the code in. So watch what happens. So I'll use Smoke, or Scorpion again. And now it'll be Smoke. There you go. And Smoke is extremely hard in this one. He moves super fast. He's always been a pain in my tuchus. Like right there, that whole speed burst he gets is totally unfair. But I think we actually beat him. So let's see if we can beat him right now. And look, see how it's how I thought I couldn't beat him, and then I did beat him around. That there is fun. So these codes definitely add to the fun factor. There we go. I'm gonna try my best to beat him. Oh, nice. The edge of the screen is a little different on this one from the arcade. It's a little closer than the arcade edge. Oh, throw me. That's okay. Nope. Oh, that was close.
Smoke wins.
Just for the sake of having fun right now, let's continue. When that happens, that's a big problem. Alright. Nope, he won. Alright, let's take a look at the 32X. The cheat code, or a couple of the cheat codes in that. Alright, let's take a look at the fun factor for the 32X. Let's play a little more, and then we will get into the cheat menu. Mess around with that a little bit. Now, because this game controls so good, and the exploits work on it, I think this version is a lot of fun. Absolutely. Everything is responsive, it plays the way you want it to. Now, if you don't know the exploits, though, this game can be extremely frustrating. That will definitely take from the fun factor, but I think for the average person picking this game up and playing it, it's a lot of fun. And if you're playing against a friend of yours, or a buddy, or a family member, whoever you play against, if you're both of like equal talent at this game, then it's a ton of fun. But the like I said, even the single player is great in this one, I find, just because it does use the exploits of the arcade. The timing's a little different, but once you get it down, it's a lot of fun. And because all the moves work well, the sound effects and everything in this one are great. I think it's a lot of fun.
Sub-Zero wins. Fatality.
So let's take a look at the cheat menu now for it, and the options. All right, to get into the cheat menu for this one, so again, there's the different settings for difficulty. You can have up to 15 credits. Extra controls is just using the 6-button controller. So for the password for this one, you go to done, you push back, down, forward, down, back, 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 forward, forward, forward. No, did it wrong. Back, down, forward, forward, down, back it. There we go. It's easier to just read it than input it while reading it. So back, down, forward, forward, down, back, 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 forward, forward, forward. That gives you test modes on this version. Now, there is no frugality in this one. That's only on the Genesis version. But the little extras here to help with the fun factor. No damage to player one is always good if you have a really hard time at this game, and it also actually helps you figure out the patterns for the what are you doing? The patterns for the way the computer plays. So that's actually a kind of cool feature. One-hit kills too make you beat the game really easily. For a lot of people, again, that don't know the exploits, who had a tough time in the past, using those exploits helps you beat the game. And to some, you know, cheating like that is fun. So free play is good. Background lets you choose whatever stage you want. The battle plan, it just makes it more random. Soak test is just like watching the computer play. And then here, fatalities, friendships, babalities. You can always make your opponent do what... if you lose, they'll always do a friendship on you. Let's throw that on. But that is the gist of the bonus features on this 32X version. Does it help with the fun factor? Absolutely. Let's play with a couple of one-hit kill matches just to see what that's like. And then we'll give our final verdict on Super Nintendo versus the 32X version. Which version is better ultimately, and we will talk about the fun factor too after playing this for just a little bit here. So one-hit kills. Doesn't matter who you use, you just got to get one hit.
Raiden.
Let's use Raiden. And is it one hit for both? Can't remember. So if he hits me, it is. So this is basically, you know, first to hit the opponent wins, basically.
Round 2, fight.
So let's try. Nothing, because we got hit with that.
Friendship.
And he did his friendship. That was kind of cool. I think your best bet is to duck there. Let's try that again.
Raiden.
I want to see. So it's who's quicker, basically. But that's a fun little feature.
Round 1, fight.
Couldn't honey marmalade him fast enough. Just try a jump kick.
Round 2, fight. Finish him.
All right, he did my move. Friendship again, as we have that turned on.
Friendship.
That is awesome. Anyways, you see what the feature does. It does what you want it to. Let's talk about the overall fun factor for both and then give our final verdict. All right, so last little bit of gameplay for both versions there. Had a good time overall with all the gameplay in both versions. This is a tough one. Let's talk about the Super Nintendo first and the fun factor. So first thing, the Super Nintendo, in my opinion, plays pretty much exactly like the arcade. The jump back, bait trick work, the cheese tricks work. Not only do they work when you jump back with like a kick or a punch, it even gives you a little bit more time so you can start doing little combos like I did with Sub-Zero there. Just the high punch to the ground freeze kind of thing. That stuff works. With Scorpion, you know, you can do the jump back, you can punch him twice, do the teleport, spear, uppercut. That works. So the Super Nintendo, when you're playing against the computer, in my opinion, plays exactly like the arcade. You know, it's a little sped up at times, a little bit of slowdown too at times, but overall it plays just like the arcade. And to people like myself, that's fun. To people that don't know the exploits, it's not fun. It could be very hard and frustrating. But to the average gamer, I think, you know, you'd be playing against a buddy anyway, so the majority of the time you're not playing single player. But if you are focused on single player, unfortunately, and if you don't know the exploits, unfortunately, it gets very hard. Does that contribute to the fun factor? Absolutely. So also with the cheat codes that are in there, I only found those out this year, to be honest. I didn't realize back in the day that those codes existed. And you know, back in the day, maybe it forced me to get better at the game against the AI because I only had 4 credits. And I really think that might have played a part in why I learned to cheese the AI as I did. over the years because I played the Super Nintendo version a lot when I was younger. So, you know, I had a hell of a time putting in those codes and playing against like Noob Saibot and Jade and then the quick kills and such. All that stuff is great. It gives you value for your dollar back in the day, and it's very fun when you do start putting in codes and you get to see what some of those codes do. So the Super Nintendo version, for fun factor, we're going to give a 4 out of 5, just because it is brutally hard, even on very easy if you're playing against the computer. A lot of people can't beat this one, and you know, because of that, a lot of people they haven't played it over the years. They figured, you know, I'm not going to play this anymore. It's too hard. And you know, it's a shame because when you do learn some of the cheese, which I mean is a shame to some people too, it's still a heck of a lot of fun to visit and play. And if you're with somebody else, then the game is just like playing, you know, against somebody else in the arcade. There's that competitive spirit, and it's fun to you know, trash talk whoever you're playing against. The game works like it should. Overall, it's a lot of fun. So 4 out of 5, Super Nintendo. Now the 32X, this version, if you're playing single player, it does have the arcade exploits tweaked a little bit. So while the jump and you know, the duck and jump back trick for the majority of characters works, it works from a different angle, a different distance, and I find that it's slightly tweaked from the arcade. I can't pull off any of the combos from doing a jump back with a kick kind of thing. I don't find the computer reacts quite like they do in the arcade. That's not a bad thing because the exploit does work to a point still, and because of that, you're still able to beat it. I find on the very hard levels and such. Now, a good thing about this one too, though, is if you play the easy mode or very easy, you can literally win by just sweeping. It's not that hard. So the difficulty levels actually act the way they're supposed to, whereas again on the Super Nintendo, I don't find it to be that way. That's a big deal. I played the game a lot by myself growing up. If I had the 32X version, that would have been a big deal. I might not have been as good of a player as, well, I'm pretty good at the game right now. I don't know if I would have been as good if I would have been as good playing the arcade version had I had the 32X version growing up. But regardless, today, when you know, playing this and going over this again, it plays close to the arcade, and it's a lot of fun. And even if, you know, you're just picking it up and you do put it on easy, you have a good chance at beating the game. Kintaro gets really hard, and Shao Kahn, but they're the end bosses. So the 32X version is very fun. Now you get 15 credits on the 32X version also. There is that code, however, that we put in that gives you free play. Fantastic. So that contributes to the fun as well. There's a lot of options in that cheat menu for the 32X also. A lot of cool things. You know, if you wanted to play through it on free play, but play with the you know, difficulty being really hard and such, you could have it so that the computer always does the friendships and babalities and fatalities on you. And that was a cool part. When you were younger, growing up, you wanted to see these moves. I know a lot of people skip them now. They want to get to the next match and the next match. But I love doing the fatalities. I love doing the finishing moves. To me, that's a huge part of Mortal Kombat. So I will always do those. And having that option, you know, to you know, the one-hit kills and such, also on the 32X, there was a lot of bang for your buck on this version also. Now, it had to be played with a 6-button controller. No big deal. With the 3-button controller, like I said, it's not even worth trying. But 6-button controller, fantastic. The 32X version, it's the complete package. So for fun factor, for the 32X version, because it's a little easier than the Super Nintendo, and because it's very responsive with the controls, there's no slowdown, everything is included in this, we're going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 for fun factor. So the end verdict, what does that mean? Let's combine these scores together and see what we get. The Super Nintendo version, I'm giving an 18 out of 20. It is a nearly flawless version of Mortal Kombat 2. I loved it growing up. I have a lot of good memories playing it. It is one of my favorite games to this date for the Super Nintendo. It's probably up there in the top 3 for Super Nintendo games. Mortal Kombat 2 on the Super Nintendo is fantastic. The final score for the 32X is 18.5. You know, I can't believe I'm saying this because I am somewhat Super Nintendo biased. I gotta be honest, the 32X version, I think, is just an overall better game than the Super Nintendo version. And I'm gonna say that because the fluidity of the game itself, the music, maybe it's because the music is almost new to me, whereas I've heard the Super Nintendo music for 30 years, so this is new, it's starting to get catchy, I'm really liking it now. Maybe that has something to do with it, but again, this is just my opinion, and it's the way I see these two games, and 32X version wins this one. It is a fantastic game, and I think back in the day, and even to this day, if I had someone to play it with, play against, I think we'd have a hell of a time playing it. And there you have it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough scenes and such. I hope I didn't talk your ear off too much in this one. I know sometimes I kind of get carried away and I keep talking and talking, but I'm passionate about Mortal Kombat 2. What can I say? I love these games. So anyways, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And that being said, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in another video very soon. Thank you very much.